All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lasting Learning Podcast. I am so glad that you decided to listen today. And in just a second, you are going to be ecstatic as well. Today is one of those amazing episodes where I know I'm just going to be humbled left and right because I have somebody on here who is just a better person than me. She's nicer than I am. She's smarter than I am. Her smile is way better than mine. She's just an absolutely incredible person. I've had the opportunity to connect with her quite a bit through social media. I kind of follow her every move. I even have my own daughter tuning into her live Facebook feeds just to learn something about makeup and life and how to smile and have fun. Today, I've got a friend on with us who's joining us from just north of Chicago, just south of Wisconsin. We've got an amazing woman on. Carly, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that wonderful intro. Holy cow.
Absolutely. I mean, every word of it. Now, Carly, there might be some people that are watching this and they see you and like, oh my gosh, I know her. But there might be some people listening that don't necessarily know who you are. Do you mind just telling your story a little bit? Who are you and where are you from?
Yes, I am so excited to be on here today. So my name is Carly Spina, and right now I am serving a school district, an elementary school district that's early childhood through 8th grade. I am a district EL bilingual instructional coach. So my job is the coolest in the district, I will say. I am the luckiest person because I get to touch everybody in our system. I get to see students. I get to work with our amazing teachers, our associates, our administrators, and our parents. And it's really a cool position because we have a huge linguistically diverse student population. We serve over 800 students who are active EL or English learners. And we represent over 60 languages across 8 schools, which is pretty cool. Something very, very proud of. Prior to being a coach, I'm in my 3rd year right now in this current role. Prior to being a coach, I was an EL teacher or an English learner teacher for 5 years for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So again, it was kind of like the push-in support, the out-of-class support, small groups, kind of stuff like that. And then after those 5 years, I moved into a 3rd grade classroom position in our bilingual program. So it was English, Spanish throughout the day. And it was all 100% native Spanish speakers. So I learned from them, they learned from me, and it was just the coolest. So then when my district said, okay, we're going to try this new thing, we're going to have this district coach role, I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds so cool. So I went ahead and applied for that. And yeah, now I'm in my 3rd year and loving it, loving life, having a lot of fun with it.
Seriously, that description, you just made my case on how much smarter you are than me, because there's so much in that I don't necessarily relate to and quite understand, because your world, your community is so different than mine. And I know that there are listeners to this podcast all across the country and all across the world, really, who are listening saying, okay, let me rewind that. More than 800 EL students, English language learners in your district. So you must have a district of like 100,000 kids. But no, I looked it up. Your district has fewer than 5,000 kids. So we're talking 1 out of every 5 kids in your district is an English language learner.
Yes.
And this is just an elementary district.
Yep, just an elementary.
Wow.
EC through 8th grade, yes.
But it's not like they're all speaking Spanish either. You said 60 languages.
Over 60 languages. So we have our top 5 languages besides English are Spanish, Korean, Mongolian, and Polish and Russian.
Holy cow. So
Yeah.
what is it about your region that is such a melting pot? Why is it such a draw for everybody?
I think because we're so close to Chicago, I think Chicago kind of is one of those really cool cities with a neat history. If you go like any neighborhood, there's like this whole different cultural group that's kind of representing each neighborhood. And I think like that's why I'm here, because my great grandmother, she came to the United States from Hungary. And she settled into a neighborhood where, folks spoke her language. They helped her acquire, a home and a job and kind of navigate the grocery stores and all that. So I think it's one of those things, I think one of the beautiful parts of Chicago is we are such a beautiful combination of so many different cultures, so many different language groups, so many different ethnicities, and we all kind of come together. And so just 30 minutes outside of Chicago sits Glenview. And a lot of the suburbs in the area are very, very similar too. We've got just so many different community groups that build and connect with each other. And it was really interesting. We had a good conversation with one of our parent groups that there was like a Facebook group that said, if you want support, as you're moving from Mongolia, then you should come to Glenview, Illinois.
Wow.
And we were like, wow, that's really cool. Like it's a great big world out there, but we're all so connected. And I think that's so cool.
That's a lot of pressure on you though, as well. I mean, you've got this global reputation now when people are coming to you because they know that you will be able to help support them. So what does that look like for you? Because I'll be honest, I have a hard enough time navigating one language. I am monolinguistic. I can speak English, but I can speak it to Yankees and I can speak it to people down south. I can speak West Coast and East Coast, but that's as much as I've got. You don't necessarily speak all of those languages, right?
Don't. I wish I did. That's always one of the questions that people will say, like as an icebreaker in different conferences, like,
Yeah.
oh, if you could have a magic power, what would it be? And I'm always like, languages. I want all the languages. So I only am bilingual. So I have English and Spanish language skills, and that's it. But what's really cool about the district I serve is we can tap into all these linguistic gifts that our staff have. And so not everyone's bilingual, of course, but we do have many multilingual staff members, which is helpful. But then we also have great opportunities for parents to kind of grow in their community and emerge as leaders. So there's a lot of school districts have BPACs, or bilingual parent advisory committees. And so we have three very active groups: are Spanish, Mongolian, and Korean. And they're kind of sponsored by the school, but it's really run by the parents, and they're able to make connections with the school and help other parents make connections with the school, and then give us feedback as teachers and as staff members, like, how are we doing? How are we connecting? What are we missing? Where are the gaps? So that's been good.
It's really cool. So you mentioned the term gaps there, and one of the gaps that I think exists oftentimes isn't necessarily with students and their achievement. I think it's often with their perception, especially when you're talking about bilingual students. Bilingual students, we have to understand, are some of the smartest kids around. They are navigating circumstances and learning things that a lot of us can't do. They're learning new cultures, new customs, new languages, and learning the content that we're trying to present to them. But I know that there are people who probably, just because of perception, look at it and say, ooh, I need to come up with a lot of accommodations and modifications and change things or water things down. And they look at some of the students that you might be working with as though they're struggling. Do you deal with that constantly, where you're trying to just manage perception?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest shifts in multilingual education right now. And I think the field is blowing up. I think that there are so many amazing folks out there who are getting the word out, kind of, so to speak. But our students have so many gifts and assets, and their language skills are a huge asset. And the United States is a really weird place because, all over the world, when you have somebody who has language skills other than maybe a primary language of a country, it's celebrated. But in the United States, it's not so much. And it's interesting to have conversations with folks from other countries who are like, wow, the United States really values monolingualism, and that's kind of weird. And so it is a lot of shifting paradigms and flipping lenses, because there's a lot of that deficit thinking when this says, like, oh, even like the way that states label our kids, and they say, you are LEP, or limited English proficient. And wow, like that's right off the bat, we are saying the kids are not doing something. They're not, if I was constantly defined by all the things I can't do yet or I haven't mastered yet,
Right.
like, wow, my label would be really detrimental. It would really affect me and my identity as a learner. But our kids have such beautiful gifts and assets, and their families do too, and we want to encourage that. We want to embrace that multilingualism. There's a lot of like folks on Twitter and stuff, and they'll say, like, there was a conference that somebody was saying like cure monolingualism as their slogan. I was like, yeah, is that the right
I'm wondering in your district, like, how is success defined for you? Is your charge to try to teach students English, or to teach students how to navigate our society within their own lens, within their own realm, within their own understanding?
So that's a good question. So we have in my school district, we have pretty cool programming. It's pretty expansive. So we have an English learner program, or a TPI, so many acronyms, transitional program of instruction. And that's where kids are coming from across different language groups, and they are studying English in English only for the most part. Of course, we're always bringing in as much native language usage as we can, but the goal is English proficiency in addition to mastering, grade level content. And then we also have kind of two bilingual tracks. We have a bilingual program in our middle school, where it is the students are clustered together, and they get bilingual Spanish support from a bilingual certified staff member through all their content area classes. And then we have a one-way dual language program now at our primary and intermediate buildings from kindergarten through fifth grade. And the goal there is biliteracy. And it's, again, same grade level content as everybody else. We're using Common Core standards just like everybody else, but we're doing it in two languages. And we're helping kids navigate their use of both languages to express their learning in all their different content areas. And studies have shown that when you have a one-way or a two-way dual language program, like, that's where you get the biggest bang for your buck. That's where the biggest growth is. And then folks are, getting extra certifications on their diplomas when they go to high school, and they have many more opportunities in college. So we have kind of a broad opportunity for kids to learn. It depends on what their parents want to. Many of their parents still want to maintain that home language literacy skill.
So many things I want to unpack with this. But again, I'm making connections to my own reality and the things that I've experienced. A, because I'm selfish and that's all I want to do. It's my podcast. But two, because I know that there are some people out there that don't necessarily live in this world that are fascinated by it. So I'm trying to make some connections that they can relate. I worked in a district prior to where I am now, where the school I was a principal of, we were a Title I elementary school where there was a lot of poverty. And we had a Title I coordinator whose primary responsibility was to go out there and solicit the parents to become vested in the school system and the community, because for them, schools weren't a happy place. They had some baggage, and it was generational poverty, and we were trying to break that cycle. And we were just trying to provide goodwill and reaching out that the olive branch to say, we can help support you. I hear part of your job is kind of like that as well. I can only imagine it in these times, and I'm not going political whatsoever, but in these times, school systems and the government might not necessarily seem like a safe place for some parents to reach out and say, help me, help my kids. So how do you navigate that, and how do you earn the trust of your parents and your students and the communities that you work with?
Yeah, that is such a great question. And I think it's one that we're still grappling with, and we're still learning. But I think that for me, when I was teaching, when I was in the classroom, I think the biggest thing was just getting to know my families from their perspective and amplifying their voice rather than speaking for them. When I first started teaching early in my career, my team had a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy about supporting the families, but a lot of conversations that were being had we're kind of carrying this deficit thinking mindset of, oh, they don't know what they need, so we're gonna provide it for them instead of ever asking them. So I think we messed up over the years and stuff, but we also grew a whole lot, and we started to have much better, more informed conversations. We brought parents in so that they could help plan and help kind of lead the way and help us deliver like a roadmap for what would be most powerful. So a lot of times it was, we want to know how to help our kids with reading when we can't read in English yet. Our kids are acquiring English literacy skills, but I have Spanish literacy skills. So how do we make that work? And then a big part of EL educators' jobs, I think, in general, is kind of being that role of a community connector and helping kids navigate the school, but also help the parents navigate the school system, and also what else is out there in the community that might be an additional support. So in the community I serve, we have a ton of different agencies that are really change makers, and they're really powerful resources for our families. We have great youth organizations. Our food pantry folks are absolutely amazing. And I think part of it for me was getting to know those agencies in a better way. And so now I'm kind of a part of a lot of these different community groups, and I'm trying to volunteer so that I'm visible in the community, so that parents can see me and my face, and they can say, oh, she's from the schools, and she's here too. And that also kind of brings a little bit of comfort too for families if they're nervous about filling out paperwork at the food pantry, and they see somebody there from the school, or their kid runs in and sees their teacher there and can say like, oh my gosh, yes, I know her. Like, that just brings a level of relief and comfort to the families. And so I think hearing from their viewpoint is always the starting place, right? And having a relationship with the families. I think we talk a lot about having strong relationships and building relationships with kids, but we don't really talk a lot about building relationships with families. So like, there's a ton of great stuff out there, lots of great content out there about like, sending snail mail or like doing this for kids and that. But, we could also be doing those things for parents. Like, we could send snail mail to the parents or the siblings, or start a diaper outreach and say like, hey, I just found out you guys are expecting next month. I'm sending home this box of diapers, and we're so excited to have a new, member of our classroom family. Yeah.
That's so good for so many different reasons, so many different levels. I'll just talk. One of the reasons I watch your every move on social media is because you are constantly talking about your family. I mean, you practice what you preach. You understand how important family is. And I'll be honest, that's one of the reasons I feel like I know so much about you, is because I see your interactions with your family. It's not just you up there preaching and talking and saying all the stuff that you know and you like. It's about you and your family. And it's so cool. I know that when I was a teacher, and probably as an administrator, I dropped the ball a lot. In an attempt to do the right thing by trying to keep parents at arm's length away. As a middle school teacher, I know I did this. When I taught sixth grade, parents would come in and they're all eager and nervous and whatever, their kids are now going to the big scary place. And to try to ease their fears, I made the statement, don't worry, I've got this. I will take care of your kid. And that statement, it was said with kindness and the right intent. I truly wanted to take care of their kid. But at the same time, it was my inadvertent, what I inadvertently did was push the parents away. We wonder why there's this big drop off in parent participation in middle school and high school. Oftentimes it's because of us. We're starting to tell our parents, stay away, we've got this, as opposed to come in and help me. Let me help you, you help me, we need to do this partnership. And I feel like that's what you're doing right now. You're kind of slapping me across the face with this, saying, we need to hold on to our families. Our families are a part of this. It's not their world, our world, their lane, our lane. It's we all have to do it together, because that's how we grow together. That's how we learn about them. That's how they learn about us. Again, you put your family on display all the time, and it's how I got to know you. we have to encourage the same thing with our own kids and our communities and our families. It's so spot on in so many different ways. So you're making connections all over the place for me right now, Carly. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk about your family a little bit. You absolutely adore them, don't you?
I adore my family. I have a son who is 12 and he is like way too cool for everything now. He's loving this, time. I'm actually really surprisingly thankful for video games right now.
Oh, do
I
tell.
am thankful for video games because right now my son is still able to be connected and it still
Yeah.
feels like a sense of normalcy and times of craziness, but he's still connected and he's
Yeah.
giggling and having fun and stuff, and he's enjoying a little extra screen time lately,
Sure.
but it's fun. He likes being able to connect with everybody. And my daughter is 8 years old, going on, I don't know, 16, 17. But she's so fun. We've had lots and lots of girl time lately. She is into makeup and beauty products and watching YouTubers do beauty reviews and stuff like that. And so she and I are having lots and lots of fun.
That's cool. And my daughter adores your daughter. When she sees stuff from her online, she's like, "Oh my gosh," she loves it. So
I love
it's so
that.
cool and so cute. So I got to ask you now. Right now, you're at this phase in your career where it seems like, and this could just be perception, it seems like right now you're kind of doing all the things. I feel like between mom, wife, coach, now author, podcast guest, I mean, you're doing it all right now. Are you starting to get exhausted? Are you kind of on this high right now? What's going on with you?
I am going back and forth between like feeling super excited and wanting to do everything and just putting myself out there and taking risks and like stepping outside of my comfort zone. And then the other part of me is like, whoa, wait. Do I have anything to say? Like, should I be doing any of this? And I think that's so natural for a lot of teachers is, kind of like, wait, like, am I really knowledgeable enough to share any of this? And I've had a lot of good conversations with folks about like, no, it's fine. Like everyone's got a story to tell. And it's so true. Like the teachers that I serve, I learn so much more from them than I think that they do from me as the coach, because everybody does have a story to tell. Everybody is, they bring something to the table that's different and new and a fresh perspective. And so I'm having fun and I'm enjoying kind of all the different things that I'm trying out, meeting lots of great folks, and yeah, having fun.
I'm going to make an analogy based on what you just said to something you'll probably appreciate. So first of all, I'm a Detroit Pistons fan. So I live in here in Michigan, but I'm going to pay some homage to the 90s Bulls. Okay. The Last Dance is all over ESPN. Everybody's watching The Last Dance. It'll be on Netflix in the fall, whatever. Even I have to give it up to the 90s Bulls. But Phil Jackson was quoted recently, and somebody was trying to call him out and said, "Phil, you would have never been a great coach if you didn't have Michael Jordan on your team, or when you moved to the Lakers if you didn't have Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal." And his comeback was, "You're absolutely right. Every great coach is only as good as his players. That's what makes them great." I feel like that's kind of what you just said. One of the reasons you are a successful coach is because you have these great players, these great teachers that you are able to support. And that's what makes the job fun.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so funny, when I first started talking about, moving from the classroom to a coaching position, people were like, well, what does a coach do? And people would kind of answer for me and say, oh, a coach is the person who teaches the teachers. And I'm like, like,
Not me.
that's not that. Like, I am not anyone's teacher. I am a growth buddy. Like, I am a think partner. And I'm like, I worship the teachers. Like, they are the ones, they're the superstars. And I just want to give them a platform to shine, but they're doing the work.
Oh, that's such an awesome mindset. That's so good. So I'll say just that mindset alone qualifies you to write books,
Yeah.
qualifies you to be on podcasts and to talk to the world. So let's talk about your book a little bit. So you've got this awesome book coming out. Describe it a little bit. What's going on with it?
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited about it. So it is through EduMatch Publishing, and right now the title is Beyond Visuals: Multilingual Supports for Multilingual Learners. And it's going to have a little bit of everything. I'll share a little bit of my story in the book, and then we're going to talk about everything from instruction to parent engagement to community outreach, and then we'll talk a little bit about, owning this role of not only multilingual teacher, but advocate.
Mm.
And I think so much of the role of an EL teacher or bilingual or dual language educator is serving as an advocate, not only for the kids, but for the parents and the community. And so the book is going to kind of dive into some things that I've tried, some things that I want to try, and things that have worked really well. And I'm so excited to be writing it, and I'm so thankful for EduMatch for letting me tell my story. So yeah, we're getting it all out.
That's
Getting,
exciting. So
yeah.
talk about the process of writing a book for those people that have never been down that road before. I know it's a dream for a lot of people to get a book out there and share it with the world. It's also a terrifying process because your thoughts and your ideas are now going out to the world. You know, if you've ever written that tweet or that Facebook post and 10 seconds after you write it, you think, dang it, I shouldn't have done that. You can't do that with a book. It's out there.
Right.
So what is the process like writing a book, going through that process of sharing it with a publisher and crossing your fingers they say yes? Like, walk us through some of that.
So I have reached out to different authors that I have just really, their work really resonated with me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so good. That's so powerful. Or like, that really touched me. And I literally just ask them questions. I'll DM them. I will, like, I'm not afraid to go ahead and ask questions. And I think that's a big part of this is like, putting yourself out there and taking that risk and going for it.
Yeah.
So I would say to anybody who wants to write, just go write. My friend Jeanette Simonson, who now moved to Denver, Colorado, she used to work with me at one of our schools, and I said, gosh, I really want to write. I want to write. When I write, I'm going to write a book about this and this and this. And so she finally said to me, okay, then write it. And I kind of went, oh, okay. Okay, I guess I'll start writing. And so then I did. I just started to write. And people will say, like, start a blog or start, some type of release. You need to get it out in some type of way. So then I started like audio recording myself on my drive home from work, just some reflections of the day or some things that I wanted to eventually say and write and type out. And so I think having a capture system of some sort would be a good step too. I know that's something that Dave Burgess always talks about, having that for like the creativity, getting your creativity going. But I think that's also powerful for writing, because it's a lot of expressing, it's a lot of synthesizing what you're thinking or reflecting on a conversation you just had, whether it went really well or really bad. It's good to just get it out in some type of way. And then, like, as you're writing, you don't have to have a full thing all mapped out and finalized, but start having conversations with folks. Start having conversations with publishers and people who have their books out, and just start asking questions and, take a risk, because you have a story. It is worth it. People want to know it. And you got to trust yourself to tell it, because if you don't tell your story, somebody else will.
Oh, so good. I'm excited to read this book for a lot of different reasons. Number one, I think it's going to challenge me because it's about a world that I don't necessarily know. But I have a feeling there are some universal truths within this. I don't feel like educating bilingual, multilingual kids is that much different from the best practice of teaching kids who are just like me and just like my own kids who only speak one language. I believe that quality teaching is quality teaching. Is
Yeah,
that far-fetched to me
absolutely.
or no?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of, like, when you go to workshops and they're talking about strategies and tools and tips and all of this, people will take away a lot and be like, that is really just good teaching. And you're like, yeah, it's good teaching. It's good for all, but very necessary for supporting students who are acquiring more than one language.
Oh, that's good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure. I'm gonna be the first person lining up saying I want a signed copy. So be ready for that. Be ready.
uh,
Um, Carly, you're absolutely amazing. You got a powerful story, um, just of perseverance, of finding your truth, finding your way, leading others, but you just have so much humility. It's absolutely, it's 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 fresh. I love it. It feels real. It's authentic. It's not contrived. I feel like it's you. You're kind of just you. And I love it. I love it. How do you describe yourself to others?
oh gosh, that's a good question. How do I describe myself to others? I am usually smiling. I'm a happy person for the most part. Um, People will tease me because I'm always in bright colors. Today I'm not in such a bright color, but I'm usually in like a neon pink or something neon, because colors do boost my mood. But
Are
I,
you this eternal optimist that you appear to be?
for the most part, I am, but I
Okay.
definitely do have my days where I'm like, I'm just going to have this whole roll of Oreos and go to bed.
Hey, that's optimistic thinking right there. I see no problem with that. Well, the reason I'm asking, I'll just cut to it. The reason I'm asking is because I feel like your job is super challenging. I feel like your job would be a job where might be difficult to see those quick wins and to get those things that boost you up.
Yeah.
That you strike me as somebody who doesn't get down in the dumps, who doesn't fixate on that. You always believe you're making the world a better place. Um, so how do you define success? How do you know when you're doing a good job, when all those good feelings are actually resulting in good things happening?
I think that's such a good question. I'm glad you asked it. This role of, we always say this role of being a change agent, of somebody who's trying to lead for change, to make things more equitable, to provide more opportunities for folks who have been historically underserved in communities. I think that that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of weight on one's shoulder. But if you can build your network and your team up, you're never alone. And you are going to have those days where you feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm having the same conversation again with the same team, or this, we're still talking about the same conversation. It feels draining. It does. And it's easy, I think, to say, oh my gosh, I'm just going to throw up my hands at this. But then there's also that knowledge that, if you are really serious about changing a system or making a huge paradigm shift, even for one person, that takes time. And there's a dance, right? Like we have to celebrate every win along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say there's no small win in education. There's only big wins, because we are working with kids, we're working with human beings, and every step forward should be celebrated intentionally, because you do have to give the moment credit, even if it's just one conversation with one person, because that has a ripple effect and that builds outward, and that creates more spaces and more opportunities for kids. So I think just, you have to allow yourself to celebrate the baby steps, because otherwise it's easy to feel, like you're climbing a mountain again and again. And I've said to my husband a million times, like, oh my gosh, it's 2020 and this person said this. But again, just, okay,
But
keep it.
that's why you're here, right? It's job security. If everything was smooth sailing, they wouldn't need you. So
That's right. That's right.
that's cool. That's cool. You truly have an amazing mindset that is uplifting and inspiring. But Carly, we got to that point, and I warned you we were going to do this. That and it's probably going to be extremely hard for you to do, because I feel like every soundbite that I could pull from this podcast is going to be that mic drop moment. But I end every podcast with what I call the mic drop moment. It's that opportunity for people to really resonate on what you're all about. I mean, you said a lot of things that I'm sure are bouncing around in people's heads. But some people are listening to this as they're driving to work, or maybe they're mowing the lawn or falling asleep at night. Who knows what they're doing? The last things that they hear from you, I want them to stick in their heads. I want them to say, this is what Carly is all about. This is the truth that she spoke that I need to really fixate on. So no pressure at all right now, Carly. But if you had to say this is your mic drop moment, what is the thing that you want us to remember about you, the world, whatever?
Okay. So I think I would want everyone to know that no matter who you are, no matter what your role is in education, all kids are our kids, and that we all have the responsibility of supporting every child in our system. Every family in our system deserves that connection to the school, that support system, that connector, that will not only help them navigate the classroom, the school, but also the community. Every child is ours.
That's so good. So good. So well said, too. The only way to reach every child is to reach each child. So focusing on each and every one. So good. So good. So, Carly, how can people connect with you if they want to track your journey and grab that book as soon as it's out? How do they figure out what you're up to?
All right, so anyone can follow me on Twitter. I am at Mrs. Spina's class, and I'm on Facebook. Yeah.
Awesome. And I've got notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, they're in the show notes. If you're listening to this on podcast, you can check out the show notes afterwards and click on those things. Follow her. You will see lots of reasons to smile throughout your day. So whether you're looking for inspiration, whether you're looking for educational pedagogy and practices, or you're just looking for some bright colors, follow Carly Spina because she's got something for you. Carly, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate it.